Good morning, guys. So, full disclosure today, I am in a really bad mood. I'm surprised I'm even sitting here filming this because I texted my best friend and I'm like, no morning chat today. Like, I just can't today. But, I thought about it and I also didn't want to not show up because of how I'm feeling. So, I'm here, and if I seem more negative than usual, please, I hope that I have your understanding. Brandon and I got into a fight last night and it was not pretty. We were at a dinner with another couple, a couple I don't know very well, and the evening was great. It was a surprise dinner for the wife of the couple, as it was her birthday earlier this week. We went to have really good food, and at some point in the night we were having a conversation and something got brought up and I really felt like a fool. Yeah, and just really embarrassed in that moment. After we left the restaurant, I was really upset. And you're in a bad place when you start raising your voice in public on the street. And I think there were very few times that happened between me and Brandon, but I actually just had to leave. I had to remove myself from the situation. So I just left and I put myself in a cab and I came home. I didn't even say bye to the other couple. And I feel pretty bad about that. I'm embarrassed. I don't know. I probably will never double date with them again just because I'm extremely stubborn when it comes to my pride after feeling stupid in a situation, especially around people I don't know very well. It makes my blood boil. I was talking to my best friend last night and she was just saying, go to sleep. Sleep makes everything better. But I woke up and I'm so much angrier than I was last night. And I'm shaking as I'm saying this right now. So, I would really love to provide more context here. But one, I think it's unfair because you guys are only hearing my side of the story. And two, I'm not here to bash my husband, on camera. And three, I don't know, maybe I'll regret sharing. So I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory behind why I'm not my usual self today. The thing that did help me sit down and get on here today is because I have some really cool things that I want to share with you guys. If you're looking for a fun TV show to watch or maybe some books to read, some podcasts, I have all of those for you guys today. I'm using that new concealer that I talked about in my Capsule fall winter capsule makeup video last Thursday, and I don't have any strong opinions on it right now, so I will reserve that for a bit later. It's still pretty early in the length of time that I've been trying it. Part of it is I think there's definitely a learning curve in terms of how I want to apply this on my skin because the consistency is so different from my other two concealers, the Urban Decay and the Glossier Stretch Concealer. These are way easier to work with. The Hint Beauty, it's much thicker. I do have to take that extra step when I moisturize to make sure that my skin is fully moisturized, that there are zero dry patches. Then I have to remind myself not to tug too hard when I'm blending this in. And because it's so thick, I would think that it would work better to blend in if I was using the heat from my fingers, but I don't really like the outcome of that. It looks kind of cakey. I'm still working with this and I'm hoping it's one of those products that maybe after a few weeks I'll end up loving. So let's start with my TV show recommendation. My TV show recommendation is a series from Netflix called Easy, and I randomly decided to start watching it last week. Kind of random as in I saw it pop up as a recommendation for me on Netflix, but I think I heard someone talking about it. And I don't know if it was a person in real life or a podcast I was listening to, but anyway, I just decided to give one episode a try while I was having lunch at home by myself one day, and I really liked it. First of all, the cool thing about it is each episode is centered around different characters. So if you guys have watched Black Mirror, and that's a TV series that I recommended ages ago, one of my favorite, Black Mirror's kind of scary though. Okay, not scary, it's just a little bit creepy in terms of like what technology can look like in, you know, years from now. This one, Netflix's show Easy, it just follows the lives of different characters, and what I really appreciate about the show is that these people seem like real people in real life. Like, it does not feel like I'm watching a show. And if anything, it feels like a vlog with like just really fancy editing. And a lot of times I forgot that these people are actors. The very first episode is about this couple where the mom is a working professional and the husband, the wife is a working professional and the husband is a stay-at-home house husband. And they're at a party, and a guy, I think a friend of theirs, mentioned something about a study that he read where when the guy stays at home and the woman is the breadwinner, their sex life isn't that great. Like the whole role reversal thing, I don't know. And so this kind of idea goes to her head, and the episode kind of shows the glimpses of like their relationship. She definitely kind of does take on a more like masculine role, and I'm being careful about the way that I'm saying this because especially, you know, nowadays there is no like, oh, the guy should make money and the woman should stay home. I'm not saying that at all, but he is the one that's in the kitchen, like wearing an apron and like just really taking care of the family, and she's the one like making business calls and whatever. My memory is not perfect right now. They decide to try to like spice up their intimacy, and I really appreciated like how real it felt. And then the other episode that I really enjoyed was the third one, which is about a married couple, and the wife, they're expecting. The wife is pregnant, and the husband is like really miserable at his job, and so he takes on a project on the side. I don't want to give too much away actually. So yeah, my favorite episodes were the first one and the third one. The second one was interesting as well. It's about this girl who meets a girl at a club and they hook up. She's vegan, the girl that she meets, and she starts like, you know, trying to switch around her lifestyle or come off a certain way so that she can impress the girl that she met. And I don't know, I just felt that was like so real too. You know how we always like put our best foot forward when we're, you know, starting to date someone or when you're on a first date. Or it's funny to watch a situation that I find so relatable, but at the same time I'm no longer in that situation now that we are married. And I mean, I'm not gonna be in a context where I'm gonna meet someone new and like have that desire to want to impress them. But yeah, check out that show and let me know what you think. So the two podcasts that I want to quickly mention, the first one is a podcast called Monocycle, and actually it was one that was recommended to me by a viewer, and I'm so sorry I can't remember exactly who it was that recommended it to me, but it is hosted by Leandra Medine, who is the woman behind the blog and now like website that has blown up, Man Repeller. And well, first of all, what she does is she just talks for about like, each episode is about 10 minutes, and she's just kind of sharing the things that's going on in her mind. And it almost reminds me of a morning chat, but in podcast form. Like, I just feel like I'm hanging out with her and just really learning the inner workings of her brain. Leandra, first of all, I love her voice, and she's really good with her words. I think she's really descriptive and personable, but very, very articulate. So I really respect that about her. Right now, she's going through the difficulties of trying to get pregnant. And she does have some episodes where she talks about like uterus envy and just how she feels like a failure of a woman because she can't get pregnant. And that really like hit a soft spot in my heart for me. And I know that's one of the more serious episodes, but one episode in particular that I really enjoyed, and this one part, it still stays with me. It's an episode about body image, and I actually think it's called Body Image. But she talks about how, you know, she has days where she'll look in the mirror and hate certain parts of her body, like anyone does. But yeah, she talks about how she has these rolls on her stomach. And some days she's like, meh, they're just there. And then other days it just really bothers her. But she shared this one perspective she had where she took a selfie and the rolls showed up. And instead of like, discarding the photo or like trying to edit it or whatever, she decided to just go ahead and post it on her Instagram. And one of the things that was running through her mind is, she can totally just hate on the rolls, but what she said was, really learning to like thank your body, the experiences that are tied with certain aspects of your body. For example, she shared like an ode to my rolls, and it was, thank you, cute little rolls. Like, I wouldn't have you guys if I didn't enjoy that amazing bottle of wine with so-and-so last night. Or I wouldn't have you guys if I didn't indulge in that like really delicious ice cream with my sister or my mother. I forget the details. But yeah, she really embraced these imperfections as part of her like life experience, and that made me smile the entire time that I was listening to this podcast, because I've been listening to Monocycle on my drive home from work 3 times a week. I only go out to work 3 times a week. And every drive home, I've been actually re-listening to a lot of the Monocycle episodes. There aren't that many, but I just find a lot of comfort in Leandra's perspective, her voice, and I've been really enjoying it. So thank you so much to you that recommended that podcast to me. You don't have to start from the very first episode, I don't think. Not everything happens in sequential order. She does have like a few episodes where she does follow-ups. So like maybe like the whole in vitro trying to get pregnant thing. I think she has like a episode on that, and then the one after is like a follow-up to that previous one. But other than that, I think you can just randomly listen to them. And I would actually start with that body image one, because yeah, it made me feel really connected almost, and I just felt like she was so real and so vulnerable in like this really cute, endearing way. So the second podcast that I'm gonna recommend to you guys is one called In the Dark, and I actually downloaded a few episodes right before our flight to Hawaii, and I was going to listen to it on the plane. I don't know why, but when there are podcasts that have potential to be creepy, I feel okay listening to it on a plane. I won't listen to it if I'm by myself at home because I'm scared, but there's like, I feel this weird feeling of being safe in an enclosed place on a plane, which can be totally ironic because of the whole like plane can crash, like people have fears when it comes to flying and all of that. But I almost feel like kind of cocooned in this like close environment, and no one's gonna try to murder me on the plane. So I downloaded like I think the first 3 episodes before our flight, and I only started listening to the first one and I stopped, but I went back and re-listened to the first episode. This podcast is about a boy that was abducted when he was 11 years old, and this was back in 1989. The case went like unsolved for 20 plus years. And this podcast was actually supposed to launch later than it did, but then it was live before that scheduled date because they just recently uncovered new evidence that pushed the podcast date forward, which I thought was interesting, and I won't tell you what that is. Oh man, I want to say it's the first podcast after Serial that I'm so like on the edge of my seat, and I want to like just fast forward and listen to everything because I want to know what's going on. But I can't do that because I'm such a scaredy cat. And so I only listen to that podcast on my drive to work when it's like bright daylight, and on my drive back from work, which is at like 5:30, even though it's not dark out yet, I can't watch it because I'll park my car in the parking garage, and then like going up to my apartment, even that creeps me out. Like I feel like someone's gonna come and murder me. Oh, if you guys are into like the whole murder mystery thing, definitely check it out. I almost wish that the person covering the story was Sarah Koenig, the journalist and the podcast host of Serial. Season 1, actually. I think I've mentioned before that season 2 sucked. I will say though, 2 things that popped up into my head just now. One, if you're a parent, I just feel like watching or listening to any story about child abduction can be really sensitive and, really upset you or just make you feel uneasy. Even if you don't have kids, I think those podcasts tend to do that. So just keep that in mind. And 2, I already thought of 3 friends off the top of my head that would totally be creeped out listening to this. And they are Jessica, my best friend Jessica, Vicky, and my friend Reb. So you guys are probably not going to listen to it. I think the last podcast that I mentioned, it was one of my gratitude episodes. It's called Untold, and it's the story of the Daniel Morgan murder, who was a detective, and it was like the most popular unsolved mystery in the UK. I was really into it at the beginning, but at some point, the podcast really lost me because it was really hard to follow along, and I had to pay attention so hard to the point where it was like distracting because I'd be driving and I would have to keep rewinding, and there was a point where I had to stop listening. And after a while, like, I just lost track of all the names and what was going on, and just wasn't very interested anymore. I wonder if any of you guys checked out that podcast after my recommendation, and if you share similar thoughts. The next 2 things are actually books. I haven't finished either of them, but I feel confident to recommend the 2. The first one is this one right here. It is The Curated Closet by the blogger Anushka Rees. I think that's how you say her name. Yeah, she's a very famous blogger. Famous? She's a very well-known blogger. And actually, one of my favorite capsule wardrobe bloggers is Caroline from Unfancy. I think everyone pretty much likes her. But before Unfancy started out, I think Caroline drew a lot of inspiration from Anushka, and her blog is called into-mind.com. into-mind.com. Yeah, she's very, very well spoken. She's a great writer. I think Unfancy has more of like the girl next door, like Caroline could be your friend kind of vibe, whereas I didn't feel as strongly about this author when I was reading her blogs. Even though I do enjoy her blog, it's not a strong recommendation from me. But I'm about 32 pages into this book, and first of all, I had no idea this book would be so beautiful, like almost like a really thick magazine. I really thought it was just going to be another paperback, but the pages are glossy. I'm not a fan of like coffee table books because I don't know, I'm just not. But I think this would be a really nice, functional coffee table book. When I think coffee table books, I just think they're very expensive and just pretty. But this is something that I'm really interested in reading. I already love it 30 pages in. And basically she explains how the system that she's going to introduce in how to help you find your own personal style, why those whole, like, when you read magazines, there are those articles that say like, 10 must-have pieces or 10 essentials for your fall wardrobe, and why those formulas don't work because we all have different lives. And yeah, it's just one of those one-size-fits-all formulas. It's more of a quick fix because it tricks you into thinking that, this plan is foolproof, and because a magazine recommended it to me, a fashion magazine, it must work. But a lot of times, after the initial excitement of it, you're back to square one and buying things that a magazine recommended to you, but you actually don't feel like yourself in. So she kind of takes you away from that. And I haven't gotten to the point where she explains the system yet. But a lot of the things that she talks about up until page 32 are definitely thoughts that I've had in my head. Like the traps we all fall into regarding, the purchases that we waste our money on. And she talks a lot about minimalism too. And she differentiates minimalism as a style and as a lifestyle. If you guys are interested, I would really recommend this book, and I will leave a link down below. I'll leave links for everything that I talk about below, as always. The second book is one that my sister actually brought to Hawaii. Well, she purchased it at the airport, I think before her flight. And so by the time I met her in Hawaii, she had this book on her. I think she'd only just started it. It's this book right here. I actually don't have the physical book because when I read hardcover books, I like to take the jacket off because they get wrinkled. So my book is on my nightstand. I just have the jacket cover. But it's Amy Schumer's book called The Girl with the Lower Back Tattoo. So my sister was like, oh, I love Amy Schumer. I think she's really funny too. And so I started reading my sister's book on the beach when we were in Hawaii. And she offered to give me her copy, but I was like, no, it's okay. I don't want to take it from you. And so I actually bought my own copy. I haven't finished it yet because I've been tired before bed, and yeah, I've just been falling asleep on it. But I really like her style of writing. It's really, she's funny and not in like an overdone way. I don't know, okay, I really like Tina Fey, but I could not read Bossy Pants. It just was so boring to me. And I know she's like funny in real life, but yeah, Amy Schumer's book, I feel like if I was like alert and I had the time, I could just probably plow through it in a few days. The moment I like fell in love with her is when she talked about being an introvert and how, you know, that's a surprise to a lot of people. I like fully appreciated how much I could relate to her. And then there's one chapter where she talks about like how she spends her money, because she's from a wealthy family, but then at some point they lost it all, and she comes from new money because of her career now and what she kind of does with that. I don't know, maybe some people can find it as she's bragging about how she spends her money or what she spends her money on, but I fully appreciated how frank and honest she was. She talks about it in such a personable way. So if you guys are looking for a fun bedtime read, or even like if you want to wake up early and just read something fun with a cup of coffee or beach read, definitely pick up this book. Guys, I'm so sorry to end this morning chat prematurely because my makeup's not finished, but my camera is about to die and I don't think I'm going to have time to fully charge it and then come back. So this is so abrupt and I apologize, but yeah, please let me know if you check out any of the things that I recommended, and thank you for being here. I guess I feel better after having talked to you and just distracting myself from how pissed I am and just sharing the things that are currently like adding joy and making me smile. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye.